Wow, that really got into my head. Or was it Cthulhu? On today's video, I'm taking part in Rotten Nurgles Style Swap Challenge. What that is Rotten Nurgle over on Instagram, link, has put together another challenge. Rather than doing a paint swap challenge this time, he's come together with something different. Rather than just swapping colours, this time we're going to completely change styles of painting. Each person participating is being randomly paired with another person. Such is the roll of the dice. I've been randomly paired with somebody I actually know. In fact, it's one of my podcasting co-hosts. Enjoyed Incubus, my good friend Russ. Well, let's have a look at some of Russ's stuff. Russ paints very Games Workshop style, and he's incredibly good at it. I like my OSL, I get mocked for my overuse of OSL, but it's my hobby, whatever. So it's going to be really interesting to paint a mini in that very standard Games W style that Russ uses. It's something that I don't often paint a lot, in fact, but I'm not sure it's going to fit with the mini that I've chosen. I'm going to paint a bust. This is H.P. Lovecraft. Not many people know that I'm a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan, although I do have a full tribute sleeve. But I'm not going to paint one, I'm going to paint two and compare and contrast. I'm going to paint one in the style of Russ and one in the style of Wayne and see how those come out. So, without further ado, let's get to the paint bench and get into this. Well, here we are again, guys. So let's get into this. As normal, what I've done is the standard zenithal highlight over black. So grey mid-tones, white on top, and then really brought the whites out with a little bit of white ink, as I would normally. Now this is a little bit different for me, so as you'll see up there, some of Russ's work. Using the Games Workshop standard system of base, layer, and then a highlight with a little bit of wash on there as well. Not too much, because a lot of this mini is actually black. So all I've done on there is the standard recipe for black. I'm assuming this is what Russ is using. I did have a chat with him, and he does seem to use the Citadel paints as well, which is fine, absolutely fine. I've obviously not been able to replicate all of those paints one-to-one because I tend to use Vallejo mainly, but I've replicated as close as possible and looked up the standard Games Workshop recipes for various colours, just using the app that they put out there, the Citadel colour app. So I've tried to stay as faithful as possible to the Games Workshop core system. Now obviously this isn't an ultramarine, so we're not going to be able to copy it one-to-one. Maybe that would have made things a little bit easier for me, but oh well, we're not going to complain. I really did want to paint this bust. What I am doing though is looking at Russ's style and trying to replicate it as close as possible. So in terms of how he does these fat edge highlights, quite a wavy brush style on there, I'm trying to replicate that. It's most notable in the bubble things at the bottom of the base and also on the lapels of the jacket. I think it actually adds to it, and I can see why Russ does this now. It gives it a little bit more visual interest, a little bit of flair almost. Just something that breaks things up, those large flat areas, and I understand now more why Russ's evolution of the Games Workshop style kind of makes me like his Ultramarines a little bit more than the standard ones that G-Dubs put out using their own system. His style is definitely very heavily influenced by the GW style, but it does have more character to it, which is absolutely great. And I hadn't actually noticed that, even though I have looked at a lot of Russ's work, obviously being a good friend of mine. I do see a lot of his stuff, but it's not until you really start to analyse somebody's style and technique that you appreciate the subtle nuances of what they've got going on there. Anyway, I digress. So, the most difficult part of this mini for me was 100% the skin. I found it very difficult to do in the Games Workshop style. It wasn't something that I was naturally good at, and it's something I've conversed with Russ quite recently about, is how much I admire the way that he gets his skin tones. He definitely has a little bit of purple in there, and that's something that I tried to bring into this mini. Now, that's not something I did with my style of it, which you'll see at the end of the two different versions of the mini, but it's something that I just couldn't manage to do. If you go and look up Russ's work on Instagram, I'll put a link down below and you'll be able to find it there. It's at Enjoyed Incubus. You'll see how his faces have progressed over the past couple of months, and it's absolutely stunning to see that level of progress. I really struggled with it, and it's one area of this minute that I don't think I managed to replicate his style. Anyway, let's have a look at both of these minis together. Well, here we are, the Russ Workshop style one. I really like how this came out. It's 100% different to how I would normally paint something, and I think that adds a little bit more to it, to be honest. The edge highlighting really brings out the jacket and draws attention to a lot of the details that I think's missing in my version of it. The parts that I don't like, again, obviously the skin we've already touched on. Let's have a look at them together. So the two versions of it, obviously the one with the OSL is my version of it. I've gone for a much more realistic tone, the lighting effects kind of to draw to the face, where we look at the more human Games Workshop, Russ Workshop style of it. I do both think they've got their own pros and cons, to be honest. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Man, that was fun. It was really enjoyable to paint exactly the same minute and get two totally different results. I don't know how much of that comes down to the fact that I was maybe trying to make them different, but I'm certainly going to be painting this bust again. I absolutely adore it, and I'm going to be using this as my base for trying new techniques and pushing myself, and then I've got a single point of reference that I can just keep printing out and trying these new things and watch it progress over time. I'll probably put a video together about that further down the line. But until then, let's have a conversation. Did you get involved in the Style Swap Challenge? What did you do? Post some pictures down below. Let's have a look, let's have a chat, and see what you came up with. I'm so interested to know. So, if you enjoyed this video, guys, please do leave me a thumbs up. If you know somebody else that might enjoy it, please share it with them. If you didn't know, I also co-host a podcast. It comes out every 2 weeks. You can find out more over at droppod.info. Well, thanks for joining me, and remember guys, if you're going to do crap, make sure it's plastic. See ya!